Thoughts on Niobe Labs. What we wanted, what we got, and how I feel about the whole thing. Welcome, Guardians, to another Embrace Destiny video. Thank you so much for stopping by. Kaz PhD here, and as always, I'll leave some of my thoughts in the description below. So feel free to check that out, or sit back and play the whole video through. For those wanting to leave comments, please do, and please be constructive and polite. Niobe Labs, Destiny's latest puzzle, was launched this past Tuesday. Part of the Black Armory, the labs was a challenge standing in the way of the final forge. People discovered the labs beyond Sojourner's Camp, past the outskirts in the EDZ, and teams rushed in to see if they could be the first to complete it. The final forge, you see, was to be locked out, inaccessible, until a single team beat the labs. Once they did, the forge was to be open for everyone. What followed was a 20-plus hour marathon of teams trying to crack the code. See, more than just run and gun, the labs was a puzzle, with secret sequences and codes revealed only by looking through the scope of certain Black Armory weapons. However, with a lot of thinking and possibly overthinking, and no checkpoints in the labs, teams were quite stuck for a long time on this puzzle. As of yesterday, with a tweet and a post, Bungie unlocked the final forge, regardless of the fact that the labs had not yet been completed. Stated that they wished to be flexible here, and while they wanted to create a community event, they didn't want to lock players out of the content. So those are the facts. That is what happened. The community is reacting as it always does, with an entire spectrum of opinion and perspective, some mild, some quite extreme. Here are my thoughts. First off, there's a number of different factors at play here, and I'm going to try and break them down as best as I can, and I'll provide timestamps in the description below. First question, what did I think about the labs? As of this recording, I've not really given the labs a try. I'm excited to try it out, but I wasn't in a rush, and when all of this happened, I kind of kept my distance. I think the labs is a really neat idea, and I'm all about adding more to this game than just shooting stuff, and thought it was really cool to discover a secret facility that could only be accessed and cleared using weapons from the Black Armory. Plus, a nice touch is that the weapons you needed to use were ones that you immediately got from completing each of the other forges, not something you were locked out due to RNG. Despite the main prize, unlocking the forge, going away, I'm still excited to give the labs a shot. However, the lack of a checkpoint was a really brutal design choice. Rather than having your progress saved or only rolled back slightly, say one level or two, you have to start from scratch if you make a mistake. This really dragged the process out. With little information on the design process and choices from Bungie, we can only really infer their reasoning here, which is what I'll do now. Creating a puzzle for someone is actually fairly challenging, and creating one for many people is even more challenging. Try it yourself. The balance between making it too easy versus too obscure, between challenging and fun, it's very difficult to pull off. On top of that, Bungie and other game developers have seen just how powerful the community can be. With thousands of people contributing via the Raid Secret subreddit, on Twitter, on Twitch, Bungie has personally seen the community just absolutely smash riddles and challenges before. So I imagine their lower limit of difficulty in terms of design has only gone up through the years. Bungie wants to make something that is fun for players, and if you're going to take time to develop a challenge, you don't want it beaten in 30 seconds. So I imagine this was part of their thinking behind the challenge, maybe even behind the lack of a checkpoint. However, Bungie is notoriously not great at presenting useful information. I'll likely go into this in another video. Actually, I think I'll talk about it a little later, but think how little of this game is actually explained in the game. People resort to YouTube, Google, Reddit for most things. Now, I'm a fan, obviously, of the way that this has built and reinforced the content creator community, but it bothers me when the game should tell you something and it doesn't. So changing mechanics halfway through the puzzle really threw off people trying to beat it, and that was one of the reasons that it took so long. So to answer the question, I think the labs was a really cool idea, but it had some missteps in terms of design, making it more challenging than it needed to be. Next, what did I think about the labs as a puzzle blocking the final forge? This one's tricky, because having a puzzle like that can be a really cool moment. Like hacking a vault to reveal treasure, there's a common sense of purpose, discovery, competition. However, locking the forge behind the puzzle creates a mixture of feelings. On the one hand, we who paid for the annual pass have paid for access to the content. We should not be denied it. The game has other means of blocking access, such as time gating, only opening up certain activities and quests according to Bungie's calendar, and I know this upsets a lot of people as well. For those very active players who've already had their fill of the other forges, hitting a brick wall like this can be really frustrating, and make them feel as if this expansion or add-on, whatever we're calling it, has very little going for it. Black Armory and the annual pass are supposed to be small snacks more often to keep us going and playing between big changes. It's supposed to reward those who want to play more without hopefully being too demanding on Bungie's team. However, it does feel like the content is trickling, drop by drop, rather than being served in a meaningful way. So when you block access to the final forge behind a puzzle with no checkpoints, in an expansion or add-on that already seems to be slowly time-gating things, that's really hard for the community to bear. Now, we'll talk about suggestions later, but I think perhaps the labs should have been the barrier to certain weapon quests, exotic weapon quests, but not blocking the main content. The Whisper quest only blocked access to a weapon, its catalyst, and a ship. It's not like we were blocked from Escalation Protocol until someone helped Anna Bray hack Rasputin. Next, what did I think about them unlocking the forge? I was glad for it, actually, but I understand why some people are not. So, Bungie locks the forge behind a puzzle. People get reasonably upset because of how challenging the puzzle is, and because they can't access the new forge, an activity they paid for. Bungie listens and unlocks the forge, keeping the labs as an activity people can still pursue. And now many are upset because those teams fought for days for the prestige of unlocking the forge, and now that is taken away. Oh boy, damned if you do and damned if you don't, right? If Bungie had not unlocked the labs, we'd be upset. Now that they have, we're upset. That's a tough place to be in. Again, a few factors to consider. First, Bungie was quite responsive here. They saw a lot of people upset over the locked content, so they unlocked the content. Bungie may still be slow from our perspective, but they have gotten better, and we're all hoping that this quick response is one that they can continue in the future. Next, instead of unlocking the forge, maybe Bungie could have done something to help the puzzlers in some way, a hint or something. Now, there were some comments on Twitter from a developer trying to point out that the challenge, especially level 6, was not as complicated as people thought, but that's about it. By unlocking the forge, rather than giving a hint to the teams trying to beat it, it does really take away from their effort in some respects. It would be like if at the end of getting World's First in a raid, Bungie takes back its agreement to send championship belts to the team. That's rough, it's invalidating, and it's not really the right response, in my opinion. We always have to be careful here in the conversation of who owes who. Many in this community speak and use language implying that Bungie owes us things. Now, yes, we paid for the content, so we are due certain quality and quantity and communication of that content and service. But there are limits. Telling developers to quit, or even worse, is not right, and it's not really our place to say. In any case, Bungie still needs to work on their communication and management of expectations. Teams expected to unlock the forge and earn the prestige by being first. Bungie took that away, and other than an emblem and a cutscene, there doesn't look to be anything to reward those players who tried. Finally, what do you think they should learn or do going forward? First, blocking main content through time gating or puzzles doesn't seem to go over very well. Raids are tough, but they're not the main content. It's okay to have exotic quest puzzles and raid challenges when there is an entire rest of the game to play. Going forward, I think Bungie needs to keep this in mind. You should be rewarded for discovering and overcoming a challenge, adding that reward to your prestige, rather than having nothing to do because you've hit a brick wall. It's like, let us discover a hidden city, but leave it to us to hack certain vaults and find hidden lore and loot. Concerning Black Armory, there have been a number of issues regarding content expectations and time gating. I really hope that Bungie is reactive enough to take this in and adjust the coming content. I like the snack size, ongoing release of content, but Bungie needs to communicate better to help manage expectations. And they need to realize that people will be angry if they can't power through content, and that this reason alone should not be enough to time gate things. When I say they need to, what I mean is that it would be a lot more positive of a response for them, for the community, for the engagement. They can do whatever they want, but in the end, if they don't listen to recommendations like these, I think they're really going to keep disengaging from the community. Create replayability and encouragement rather than simply offering content, or by locking the content to drag on replayability. Think of any really repetitive game, Overwatch, Fortnite, even running strikes in Destiny 1. This shows the power of engagement over content. While it's probably very challenging to design and implement something that is quote unquote engaging, surely it's easier than making content that is never used again, right? Are we even going to have a reason to do the labs once we've gotten the emblem? I don't know. Finally, community communication and events. When Bungie announced the labs was open, it encouraged people to check out streamers on Twitch, watch the community, try to beat the puzzle. Some have been quite upset here, feeling that the entire event was just to encourage and support streamers, which then encourages sales of the game and gives right back to Bungie. There's a lot of this kind of elitism or questions of elitism between those who make content and stream versus the average player, whatever that is. Now, this may have been one goal, but I don't think it is, nor should it really be the main goal. Currently, the only in-game feature we have for community is by the little info windows that pop up telling us that a raid is open or the forge is open. When the first team beat the raid, we all knew about it in-game. Everything else, though, it's outside of the game. Reddit, Twitter, Twitch, even the game's credits are on Bungie.net. Changes, all on Bungie.net. Now, again, I'm happy here for the community that has sprung up around the game, but I've always wanted the game itself to encourage this more. So, short version, Twitch was the only real way, okay, Mixer too, but Twitch and Mixer streaming was the only real way to have the community congregate in a live manner. We have no in-game options. So promoting streamers or not, it really was the only way we had. Now, I'm no developer. I do not really know the reasons for or against certain design choices in gaming, nor do I actually realize just how complicated it could be. But we are missing out on a lot of in-game options for our community here. There are no scoreboards anywhere in the game. Guided games is a current half measure. Even instructions are not really in the game. If you weren't told, and you didn't happen to stumble onto what Tinctures of Queensfoil did, you might never discover the Ascendant challenges. Sure, you'd see the bounty from Petra, but there would only be one noticeable feature in the game even hinting at what to do and where to go. For reference, by the way, that's the line of text that says the seam between realities grows weaker and thinner when you are near the Ascendant challenge that week. Now, I could go on and on about the way that Destiny's story and universe actually encourage a lot of mystery and discovery, similar to Dark Souls, and how that influences and encourages this kind of game design, but I will just say that I wish we had other ways to encourage this community, both in terms of actually beating and playing challenges, as well as congregating, coming together. There have been many who have pointed out that in World of Warcraft, there was a large raid event where players who were not even attempting the challenge could still help by donating materials. And I was thinking the same thing. Say, for every 10,000 planetary materials that the entire community gathered or something, a new hint would be revealed. Not through a tweet, but actually in the game, in the text while working on the puzzle. And also a pop-up menu that shows up in orbit that thanks each and every Guardian for their contribution. One example could be, say the Sojourner's camp was lit up, actually physically illuminated on the map, and have an event marker appear somewhere on your map. Have your ghost say, hey, what's over there? So that we can either congregate and get in there and help, either by trying it ourselves, or maybe we can bring resources there. So here's how it could play out. Have your ghost ask you what's up, Devram radios you saying what's happening, saying you can either get in there and try it yourselves, or you can brute force the system by bringing him planetary materials. Materials which he would then dump into the system to get passwords or something. This could be a lesson for faction rallies going forward. One common request I see concerning the rallies is to have something in the tower which shows us how the factions are doing. Instead, we wait until the end of the week to see who is the winner. But seeing something change visually would be more engaging. It would be great to see the height of the flags change on a daily basis, and maybe see an hourly updated amount of progress in a terminal in the tower. I'm not asking for live game-breaking details, but something would be nice. It would help the game feel more alive. It would encourage the community to actually rally together. So finally, what did I think about Niobe Labs? I think puzzles are fun if there are mechanics to help encourage completion. I think locking out the forge was not the best idea. Should have been just locking out exotics, extra things to chase. And I'm glad they unlocked the forge. I'm sorry for the teams who worked so hard and at this point will only have the favor of the community and an emblem for completing the puzzle. And I really hope that Bungie learns from this how to really engage with their players and grow the community. Finally, I just want to thank you all for listening. This video started hitting on related points and expanded into other kinds of content. I hope you are enjoying Black Armory and Destiny. I still am. It sucks when something is broken, but I'm glad that Bungie is trying new things, and I hope they learn from it and go forward rather than backward. Thanks again. Feel free to leave comments below, but as this is a heated issue, let's try not to be negative, okay? Let's be constructive and civil, please. I'll see you all in the next video.